Does the Constitution and our Bill of Rights worsen or alleviate, as you described, the vicious cycle of wealth and power, and how?
Bill of Rights. Actually, James Madison once said that a parchment barrier doesn't protect liberty. In other words, it doesn't matter what the words are on paper, it's how you deal with them and interpret them. So, the words may look nice, but it depends on how they're used and interpreted. Take the First Amendment, for example. First of all, the First Amendment isn't what we think it is. It doesn't prevent the government from punishing speech. It doesn't say that. It just says there can't be prior restraint. So if you're going to make a speech criticizing the president, the government can't stop you from making it, but you can put you in jail afterwards under the First Amendment. It wasn't until the late 20th century, very much in the course of the civil rights movement, that the courts started putting teeth into the First Amendment, strengthening it to prevent government power. And by no means enough. We can say it in the courtroom this morning in London, where Julian Assange is coming up on the extradition hearing. Here's the government here wants to throw him in jail for the rest of his life because he released material they don't want to see. Probably that's permissible under the current court system. But there's another part of the First Amendment that has been forgotten. This distinction between negative rights and positive rights. So negative rights means the government can't interfere with what you're doing. Positive rights means they should support good things that are important. That's the way the founders interpreted the First Amendment. The post office, which the right wing is trying to destroy, had a separate article in the Constitution establishing it. The government considered it very important. What was the post office doing in the early years? Subsidizing the press. About 80% of its traffic was newspapers and journals. It was giving basically free, almost free circulation in an effort to create an independent adversarial press, which was pretty lively in the 1790s, early 19th century. So they interpreted the First Amendment as saying the government should support and help circulate ideas, reporting, press, and so on. There's been a battle about that in American history all the way through. When radio came along in the 20s, it's a public airwaves, public owns it. Should it be turned over to the public for educational purposes, for bringing people together and so on? Or should it be handed over to private business to make money on? It was a battle. Church groups, educational groups, and others tried to get it to be a public resource. They lost. The United States differs from just about every other country in that it doesn't have public radio. Same battle over television in the late 40s. Private business won. We don't have a BBC or anything like every other country does, but we just have, except way out at the fringe, private ownership of the public airwaves. It's the power of business. And that's a battle that's now happening over the internet. Are the big tech companies going to control it? Or is it really going to be free at neutrality and so on? Well, this is a kind of a class struggle that's gone right through American history. And interesting, the position of the founders, which conservatives are supposed to worship, that's forgotten. And nobody knows that the post office was there to subsidize a free press. Even in the Constitution, separate article for it. Well, those are things kids can learn.